Allie, I wanted to talk to you.
I told you I'm not going to read that stupid book. I'm quite contented with this one, thank you very much.
It's content, not contented. And I'm getting very concerned. That comic you keep reading is a 3rd grade level book. You should at least be up to a 5th grade level by now.
But that book is so boring. It's got no pictures or conversations. And what's the use of a book without pictures or conversations?
Allie, I don't think you understand. You're not reaching your developmental milestones for your age group. I know you're under a lot of psychological stress right now as your growing brain is still too underdeveloped to grasp the global turmoil with worry, which is why you feel the need to return to something from a simple. But that's exactly why you need to emerge from your childhood fantasy world. So you may start to comprehend what's going on and become an objective adult when you grow up. If you continue to regress in this way, I am afraid you might be, according to Dr. Locke's latest medical research.
You don't need to diagnose me again. Please, just leave me alone.
Well, I'm trying to do what's in your best interest for your proper growth and development of a girl in your age group.
How can you do what's in my best interest if you don't even care what my interests are?
That's not what that phrase means. Alice, I know you're just acting out right now because your naive idea of what the world was supposed to be is starting to deteriorate. But that's what growing up is. I knew I should have told Mom to stop letting you consume so much fictional media. Letting go of childhood is scary, but we all have to.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I shall be too
late. Well, after such a fall like this, I shall think nothing of tumbling down the stairs. Well, I wonder how many miles I've fallen. What if I'm near the center of the earth? What if I fall through the earth? How funny it shall seem to walk among the people with their heads on downwards. Oh, Diana, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice falling in the air, I'm afraid, but you can catch a bat, and bats are very much like mouse, you know. But I wonder, do cats eat bats? Do rats eat bats? Do bats eat cats? Oh!
Oh, my ears and whiskers. How late it's getting. Oh, the queen. The queen. Oh, won't she be savage if I kept her waiting?
If you please, sir. Oh, dear. The rabbit could get through there, but I sure can't. Even if my head could go through, it would be little use without my shoulders. I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could if I only knew how. So many out-of-the-way things have happened, I've begun to think that very few things are impossible. How queer everything is today. I wonder if I've changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? But if I've changed, the next question is, who in the world am I? Oh, that's the great puzzle. I'll just sit down here. It'll be no use for someone to put their head down and say, come up here, because I'll just say back to them, tell me who I am. If I like that person, then I'll come up. If I don't, then I'll just stay down here. What nonsense I'm talking. There's no use in talking down on yourself like that. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Come, stop crying like that.
Why don't you check your pocket, my dear?
Who was that? Why, you Cheshire cat, hello. Why do you grin like that? I didn't know Cheshire cats could grin.
All of them can. Most of them do.
I didn't know any of that.
Why don't you check your pocket, my dear?
Yeah. Where?
There.
Drink me. Wise little me isn't going to do that in a hurry. No, I'll look at it first and see whether it's marked poison or not. For I've read several stories of little children who've gotten burnt and eaten alive by wild beasts and other unpleasant things, all because they didn't remember the simple rules that their friends taught them, such as, if you touch a red-hot poker, it'll sure burn you, and if you cut yourself with a knife, you'll usually bleed, and if you drink something that's marked poison, it certainly did not sit with you sooner or later. But this one isn't marked poison. What is it supposed to help me with anyway?
It'll help you. Well, somewhat help you.
A little help is better than none, I suppose. I feel like I'm shutting up like a telescope. Oh, I wish I hadn't cried so much. I'll be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears.
Curiouser and curiouser. Everything is queer today.
Marianne! Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick, now! The queen! Oh, my dear, both of my fur whiskers shall be executed as sure as ferrets are ferrets!
Oh dear, he took me to be his housemaid. I better take him his fan and gloves. That is, if I can find them. I do wish I hadn't grown quite so large. I wonder what have happened to me. I used to read fairy tales, but I fancied this thing could never happen, and now I'm in the middle of one. There ought to be a book written about me. That there ought.
Marianne! Marianne, fetch me my gloves this moment! Then I'll go round and get it at the window.
That you won't.
Pat! Pat, where are you?
Sure, then I'm here, digging for apples, Your Honor.
Digging for apples, indeed. Here, come and help me out of this. Ah! Pat, what's that in the window?
Sure. It's an arm, Your Honor.
An arm, you goose! Whoever saw one that size, why, fills the whole window.
Sure it does, Your Honor, but it is an arm for all that.
Well, it's got no business there at any rate. Go and take it away.
Sure, I don't like it, Your Honor, at all.
Do as I tell you, you coward.
I only wish I could. I don't want to be in here any longer.
Where's the other ladder? Oh, Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. No, tie them together first.
Oh, no. Oh, mind the
Who's go down the chimney?
Oh,
Here,
it's coming down.
Now, who did that?
Wasn't me, Your Honor.
It wasn't me either, Your Honor.
Well, I didn't do it. If you didn't do it, and Pat didn't do it, then who did?
If I didn't do it, and Pat didn't do it, and you didn't do it, then it was Bill, I fancy.
Bill, you an idiot, mate.
No, I'm Bill.
Just get down that chimney!
Oh, so Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he? Why they seem to put everything upon Bill? I wouldn't want to be in his place for a great deal. This chimney is a little narrow, but I think I could give it a little kick.
There goes Bill.
I'm okay.
We must shake the monster out like a pepper shaker.
If you do, I'll set Dinah at you.
A Dinah? I mean, I could use a sandwich and a coffee right now.
Will you shut your mouth and get to work?
I wonder what they'll do next. If they have any sense, they take the roof off.
A few should do to begin with.
A few what? Ah! Oh, you stop that. You better not do that again. If I eat one of those cakes, it'll make me change in some size. And though I can't grow any larger, it might make me grow smaller, I suppose. Okay, Alice, first thing you've got to do is grow to your right size again. The next thing is to figure out which door to go through. Let me think, how is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something, but the great question is what?
Who are you?
I hardly know, sir. Just at present, at least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I've been so many different sizes. You'll feel a little queer, won't you?
Not a bit.
Well, perhaps your feelings are different. All I know is it will be very queer to me.
To you. Who are you?
I think you want to tell me who you are first.
Why? Whatever do you mean by that question? Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself, you see.
I don't see.
I'm afraid I can't make it any more clear. I don't understand it myself to begin with. And being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing.
It isn't confusing.
Well, perhaps you hadn't found out yet. But when you turn into a chrysalis, which you will someday, you know, into a butterfly after that, I should think.
Not a bit.
Well, perhaps your feelings may be different. All I know is it would feel very queer to me.
To you? Who are you?
I think you ought to tell me who you are first.
Why? Oh, come back. I've got something important to tell you. Keep your temper.
Is that all?
No. So you think you've changed, do you?
I'm afraid I am, sir. I can't keep my same size for 10 minutes together.
Well, what size would you like to be?
Well, I'm not particular on the size, just one doesn't want to keep changing so often.
So you're content the way you are now?
Well, I would like to be a little larger if you wouldn't mind. 3 inches is such a wretched height.
It is a perfectly good height indeed.
But I'm not used to it.
You'll get used to it.
I wish creatures wouldn't be so easily offended.
One side makes you larger. The other side, well, that makes you smaller.
One side of what? The other side of what?
Of the mushroom?
And which is which? Thank you. No, now this room is too small for me. I shall remain this size for now, and just save these for later. Oh, these changings are so confusing. Oh, a familiar face. Hello, Cheshire Puss.
Hello, dear. How are you getting on?
I'm getting on fine, thank you. Well, I think. To be honest, I don't know which way to go. Would you please tell me where I ought to walk from here?
Well, which way would you like to get?
I don't much care where,
Well, then it doesn't matter which way you walk.
as long as I get somewhere.
Well, if you walk in any direction long enough, you're sure to get somewhere.
What sort of people live about here?
Well, if you go this way, you'll meet the Hatter, and if you are to go that way, you'll meet the March Hare. Now, both are mad.
I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, but we're all mad here.
How do you know I'm mad?
You wouldn't be here if you weren't mad.
How do you know that you're mad?
A dog. A dog isn't mad, correct?
I suppose so.
Well, a dog will wag his tail when he's pleased, but he will growl when he's angry. Now, I will growl when I'm pleased, and I'll wag my tail when I'm angry.
I call it purring, not growling.
Call it what you like. Are you playing croquet with the queen today?
I should like it very much, but I haven't been invited yet.
Well, I will see you there.
The March Hare would be much most interesting, and perhaps that it is in March, it wouldn't be as raving mad. At least not as mad as it is in March. Oh, I wish you stopped appearing and vanishing so suddenly.
As you wish.
Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, but a grin without a cat? That is the most curious thing I've ever seen in my life.
No room, no room, no room, no room, no room,
no room, no room, no room, no room.
Plenty of room.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
And it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
It wasn't very simple of you to sit down without being invited.
I didn't know it was your table. It's set out for a great many more than 3.
Your hair wants cutting.
You should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Come, now we shall have some fun. I'm glad you've begun asking riddles. I can guess this one, I believe.
Do you mean you can find out the answer to it?
Exactly so.
Then you should say what you mean.
I do. At least, I mean what I say, but that's the same thing, you know?
Not the same thing a bit. Why, you might just as well say, I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see.
You might just as well say, I like what I get. It's the same thing as I get what I like.
You might as well say I sleep when I breathe is the same thing as I breathe when I sleep.
It is the same thing with you. What day of the month is it?
The 4th.
2 days wrong. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works.
But it was the best butter.
Yes, but some crumbs must have gotten in as well. You shouldn't have used the bread knife.
Was the best butter, you know.
What a funny watch. It tells you what day of the month it is, and it doesn't tell you what o'clock it is.
Why should it? Does your watch tell you what year it is?
Of course not, but that's because it stays the same time for such a long time together.
which is just the case with mine.
I understand you.
The Dormouse is asleep again.
Of course, just when I was going to remark myself.
Have you guessed the riddle yet?
No, I give up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
I think you ought to do something better with your time than wasting it on asking riddles with no answers.
If you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you don't. I dare say you never even spoke to time.
Perhaps not, but I do know I have to beat time when I learn music.
That accounts for it. He won't stand a beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with time, you'd do almost anything you'd like with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin the lessons. You'd only simply have to whisper a hint to time, and around goes the clock in a twinkling, 1:30, time for dinner.
I only wish it was.
That would be grand, certainly, but I shouldn't feel hungry for it, you know?
Not at first, perhaps, but you can keep it to 1:30 as long as you'd like.
And is that the way you manage?
Not I. We quarreled last March, right before he went mad, you know. It was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing. Twinkle, twinkle, pull back. How I wonder what you're at.
Yes.
You know this song, perhaps?
Yeah, I've heard something like it.
It goes on, you know, in this way. Up, above the world you fly, like a tea tray through the sky. Twinkle,
Oh, man.
twinkle.
Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.
Well, I had barely finished the first verse when the Queen started bawling out, "He's murdering the time with his head."
How dreadfully savage.
Ever since then, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that why there's so many tea things put here?
Yes, it is. It's always tea time, and we have no time to wash things between whiles.
You keep moving around, I suppose.
Exactly so, as things get used up.
But when you get to the beginning again?
Suppose we change the subject. I'm getting tired of this. I vote the young lady tells us a story.
I'm afraid I don't have one.
The Dormouse shall, the Dormouse. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up,
Wake up.
Sleep, I hear every word you fellas were saying.
Tell us a story.
Right after this nap.
Have some more tea.
I had nothing yet, so I can't have more.
You mean you can't have less? It's very easy to take more than nothing.
No one asked your opinion.
Look who's making personal remarks now. I want a clean cup. Let's all move one space on.
Really? Now you ask me? I don't even think that...
Then you shouldn't talk.
I shall never go there again. That was the stupidest tea party I was ever at in my life. Oh.
Watch out now, Floyd. Don't go splashing paint over me like that. I couldn't help but say it jogged my elbow. That's right, Floyd. Always lay the blame on others. You better not talk. I heard the Queen say only yesterday you deserve to be beheaded. What for? That's none of your business, too. It is too his business, and I'll unjust things.
Would you please tell me why you're painting those roses?
Why, fact is, you see, miss, this here would have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake, and if the Queen was to find it out, we should all have our heads cut off, you know. So, you see, miss, we're doing our best before she comes to... The Queen!
Who is this idiot? What's your name, child?
My name is Alice. So please, Your Majesty.
And who are these?
How should I know? It's no business of mine.
Off with her head! Off!
Oh, consider, my dear. She is only a child.
Get back into that screen. Get up. Leave off that. You're making me giddy. What have you been doing here?
May it please your majesty, we were trying to...
You know what? I don't care. Off with their heads.
Beheaded? Oh, hide here.
Are their heads off?
They're cards, so I can't actually cut off their heads, but their heads are gone, if it please your majesty.
Right. Can you play croquet?
Yes.
Then get to your places. Come on.
But how are we to play over Zoom? That seems quite impossible. Of course, that means very little here. But if I'm to refuse, then what would become of me? They're so dreadfully fond of beheading people. The great wonder is there anyone left alive? Oh, Cheshire cat, finally someone I can talk to.
How are you getting on, my dear?
I don't think they play fairly. And they all quarrel so loud that one can't hear oneself speak. They don't have any rules in particular. But if they do, they don't seem to attend to them.
How do you like the Queen?
She's so extremely likely to win that it's hardly worth finishing the game.
Who are you talking to?
A friend of mine, Cheshire Cat. Allow me to introduce it.
Well, I don't like the look of it at all. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes.
I'd rather not.
Don't be impertinent. And don't look at me like that.
A cat can look at a king. I've read it in a book, but I don't remember where.
It must be removed. My dear, I wish you would have this cat removed.
Off with his head!
I'll fetch the executioner myself.
You can't cut off a head unless there's a body to cut it from. I've never had to do such a thing before, and I am not going to begin at my time of life.
Anything that has a head can be beheaded. You want to talk nonsense.
Hey, if something isn't done in less than no time, it'll be off with everyone's head.
The trial's beginning!
What trial?
Don't worry about it. You'll find out in the next scene.
I understand. Order in the court.
I
know the white roses.
Silence in the court!
Harold, read the accusation.
Your Majesty, I prefer to be called by my professional name, the White Rabbit.
The accusation, Harold.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Consider your verdict.
Not yet, Your Majesty. There's still a great deal of the scene to come before that.
Call the first witness.
First witness!
I beg your pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing these in, but I hadn't had time to quite finish my tea when I was sent for.
You ought to have finished. When did you begin?
The 14th of March, I think it was.
Write that down. Take off your hat.
It isn't mine.
Stolen.
It isn't mine. The customer made it for me, and it's my prop, so you can't touch it.
Give your evidence, and don't be nervous, or I'll have you executed on the spot.
You're growing, my dear.
I can't help it. I'm growing larger.
Yes, but try growing at a more reasonable pace as to not cause a commotion. The queen does hate commotions.
Can't seem to control it. It usually only happens when I eat something. When I think of eating something.
Bring me a list of singers from the last concert.
Give your evidence or I'll have you executed whether you're nervous or not.
I am a poor man, Your Majesty. And I had but just begun my tea not above a week or so ago, and with the bread and butter gates within, the twinkling of the tea.
Oh, the twinkling of what?
It began with the tea.
Of course twinkling begins with the tea. What, do you take me for a dunce? Go on.
I am a poor man. It must take a simple after that. Only the Dormouse said, well, I began to cut myself some more bread and butter. And
But what did the Dormouse say?
I can't remember.
You must remember or I'll have you executed.
I am a poor man, Your Majesty.
Well, you're a very poor speaker. Well, if that's all you know about it, you may stand down.
I can only stand in this Zoom screen, Your Majesty.
Then you may turn off your screen.
I'd rather finish my tea.
You may go.
And just take his head off outside.
Call the next witness. Really? My dear, you must cross-examine the next witness. It quite makes my forehead ache.
Alice?
Here.
Well, what do you know about this business?
Nothing.
Nothing whatever?
Nothing whatever.
That's very important.
Unimportant, Your Majesty means, of course. Unimportant, I meant important.
Silence! Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high to leave the court.
Not a mile high.
You are.
Nearly 2 miles high.
I shan't go at any rate. And besides, that's not a real rule. You just made it up.
It's the oldest rule in the book.
Be number 1.
Wrong.
Consider your verdict.
There's still more evidence to come, Your Majesty. This paper has just been picked up. I haven't read it yet, but it seems to be a letter written to somebody.
Well, it must have been that, unless it was written to nobody, which isn't usual, you know. In fact, there's nothing written on the outside. It isn't a letter after all. It's a set of verses.
That's the queerest thing about it.
Majesty, I didn't write this, and they can't prove that I did. There's no name signed at the end.
If you didn't sign it, that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name like an honest man.
That proves her guilt.
It proves nothing of the sort.
Read them.
Where shall I begin, Your Majesty?
Begin at the beginning, and go on until you reach the end, then stop. That's the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet. So now let the jury...
It's ridiculous. If it weren't for the Queen's fits...
Oh, you've never had fits, my dear, I think.
Never.
Then the words don't fit you. It's a pun. Ha! Ha! So now, let the jury consider their verdict.
No. Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
And nonsense. The idea of a sentence first?
Hold your tongue. Off with her head!
Who cares for you anyway? You're nothing but a pack of cards. You can't do anything to me.
Attack!
I'm sorry I yelled at you. And I'm sorry I get so intense about all these things. I just worry about you and want to make sure I can do all that I can to ensure. Can I come in? Haleigh, are you okay?
What did you say?
I said, Haleigh, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You were in here for a while.
Yeah, but I'm okay. I was just doing some thinking, and I know all books don't have pictures and conversations. I just like the ones with pictures and conversations better.
Okay. I'm sorry I pushed you so.
It's okay. I know more than you think. For example, why is a raven like a writing desk?